Last night, you spent 2 hours deciding what to wear to the party. This morning, it'll take you 2 minutes to list it on Depop and make your money back. Just grab your phone, snap a few photos, and we'll take care of the rest. The sheer dress and platform heels you'll never wear again? There's a birthday girl searching for them right now. Your one and done look is about to pay for your next night out. Or at least the ride home. Your style can make you cash. Start selling on Depop, where taste recognizes taste.
Morning decisions. How about a creamy mocha frappuccino drink? Or sweet vanilla? Smooth caramel maybe? Or a white chocolate mocha? Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Find Starbucks Frappuccino drinks wherever you buy your groceries.
Now at McDonald's, a McDouble is $2.50, so you can get your gym gains on. Or just get lunch for only $2.50. Get more value on the under $3 menu.
Limited time only. Prices and participation may vary. Prices may be higher for delivery.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Just 80 minutes remain in the regular season, and yet no one is dead yet. It's sinister. It's fun. Let's start the show. Hello, welcome to today's episode of the Interpro Show, your home for all things Irish rugby across the men's and women's game. Joining me tonight, we have D3 David and we have Suftum Adam wearing a Lions shirt. We may get into that a little bit later on. No Ben tonight. He's off preparing for Limerick's do or die Munster Championship clash, or so I've told myself anyways. Adam, I'll start with yourself. You were not in Belfast this weekend. You were at a concert. So what does it feel like when you're not able to watch your province? Because we wouldn't know. We tune in every week.
It was one of those, like, way to expose me. But no, I went to see a concert in Manchester. I loved it. It was Tame Impala. To be fair, when I idolize one Australian, I need to idolize them all, I guess. And he was the one I was idolizing that night, in the Co-op Arena, which is the largest indoor arena in Europe. 22,000. There you go. But it's really weird when you go see a concert in a place that you're not from, because when they go like Manchester, you have to go way, and I'm like, I'm not from Manchester. I've got like family that live in Manchester. That's my only connection. I don't even like the football teams in Manchester. But yeah, so I was sort of keeping up, and I just kept on seeing it flash upon my phone. And then we'll get to the talking points later, because I have watched back some of it and I have got my thoughts on it. But I just saw it like kept on flashing. I was just sort of like looking up. It would have been a song that I would have been like on, and then I looked at my phone. I was like, oh. But anyway,
It's another try. Oh, it's another try. Oh, it's another try. Oh, I'm just realizing my internet is slow and it's just fast feeding me all these notifications. That's all it is.
yeah,
No,
I'm pretty sure the guy next to me got an elbow when I saw Cox's first try. Let's.
let's hope no one clips that up. That did happen to me before in I was in Crow Park, and
You
do you know the way-
elbowed someone's cock in Croke
No,
Park.
Jesus.
Sorry.
Happened to me. No, we were in Crow Park before, and like famously, you can't bring drink to your seats at GA matches at Crow Park. But obviously, we had like brought drinks to our seats and whatever, and it was like a really quick movement, and Galway went down the field and scored a goal, but like one of those like out of nothing, and I like fist bumped, like really big one. My sister was beside me, but her arm was too close. So like I caught her arm as I went to fist bump, and her drink went flying into the person in front of her. And I don't remember what happened with the rest of that match, but I remember that moment. That moment was very, very funny as far as I'm concerned. But we'll surely have loads of stadium stories to come up over the coming weeks as we get into playoff time. But we're going to get straight into it, lads. We'll start with the final intro of the regular season as Connacht wiped the floor with Munster 26-7 and gave Jack Carthy, I knew you were going to do that, and gave Jack Carthy and co a fine farewell. And I suppose it is. I was there, I was at it. It was such a weird one, because I think anyone speaking before the game thought Connacht were going to win, which is unnatural enough for Connacht games, especially in Interpros. Um, but it was just straight away you're like, oh, this is going to be one way traffic. Like first 5 minutes, you knew it was like Munster never got off the bus, whereas Connacht just hit gear straight away. Like their shape was really good, their defensive urgency was really good. They played the referee very well. Like the first penalty, Munster fans will argue it's not a penalty, but they won it and they went and they scored from it, like it was that kind of game. they pitched up perfectly. And I like it is credit to Stuart Lancaster what he's doing. That like the likes of Harry West played well, and Billy Bowen and Sam Elo, and young guys like these. Sean Jansen got player of the match. Thought Keane Prendergast personally was very unlucky to miss out on that. I thought Keane Prendergast was excellent. But on the flip side, Munster, and I wrote about this. No Jack Carthy, or no, not Jack Carthy. Sorry, Jack Carthy did play. No Jack Crowley for Munster, and it was like as if, oh, it's gonna be one of those nights. So like it just like, and this has become a team that when he's not there, they just don't look like a team who knows how to play. And that's not all putting on JJ Hanrahan. He's a fine player. He's a great guy, but like there's like this lack of belief that they can execute what they need to execute when Jack Crowley isn't there to pick the passes and unlock defenses for them. And it's just really, really strange. And then you add in the fact that there was no Tyke Byrne, Edward Adogbo got hurt. There's the 20-minute red card, which I hadn't even listed on this to be honest. But like personally, I thought it was between a yellow and a red. Like I didn't think it was a red. I thought a yellow would have been fine. Like we'll probably discuss the Ian Henderson one later on. That to me was a red card. I thought Barron's one was I'm on the floor. I'm just going to try and yank at him. Oh shit, I'm on his legs. Like I don't like it's not the same. It's not all one movement. It's more like two or three movements. Like if you're diving for the line. But anyways, that's by the way, that's not anywhere near the reason why Connacht won 26-7. They were the better team from minute one. But it's a strange feeling now because Connacht go into this weekend having won six of their last seven, sorry, seven of their last eight league games. Yeah, seven of their last eight league games. One more will get them into the playoffs, probably. There's a small chance it won't, but probably. But it's Edinburgh. And as listeners to this podcast know, famously, I don't rate Edinburgh, but that is twofold because they could very well spoil the party here. And then on the flip side, you'll have Munster who may need to beat the Lions. They also may be true. They may be guaranteed of top six by the time they take on the Lions. So you just don't really know. Adam, I'm gonna come to you on that because not to call it like Munster woe, because that's always the word that's used, but they just never got going in this game. Like, granted, they did have a try disallowed, and I think if they score there, maybe you're looking at 26-14 with 10 minutes to go and they're pushing for a bonus point. That bonus point could be massive, but they just never really kicked on. They never really got going, and that's disappointing. The penultimate round of the season, like that's not good enough.
No, it's really interesting because I feel like what Munster have at the minute, and I feel like it's very clear to see in a game like this as well, is that they've got a bit of not an identity crisis due to what's going on in the background, but it must affect the team, everything that's happening and all the stories around them and stuff like that. And what Clayton McMillan said in the week, didn't he not mention about how it's like, oh, if they want to move on with me, I don't blame them. It said she was under those lines.
Hmm.
It's bizarre how, you have a head coach of a province that's saying that, and it's very like when Dan McFarlane left midway through a season. That's the type of words that he said, and he was 4 years down the line. This is Clayton McMillan's first season with Munster. This was supposed to be the what that how he has to sell himself. But
I
as you
suppose the one thing is when McFarlane started saying that, that was after Petrie had left. So it
yeah.
was like, well, you've already gotten rid of him. Are you going to get rid of me as well? And it didn't work. Whereas here, and look, this is more based on what I'm hearing and what I'm reporting and what I'm reading. I think that's more of a me or them. That's my reading. It. Everyone has
Yeah.
different reasons. For me, it's me or them, and I think Macmillan will win that war. To be quite honest,
Yeah.
and also because Macmillan is like this height and Ian Flanagan's like this height, so there's quite a, he should win that battle. But that's my take now. I don't think it's the same as McFarland, even though I've seen that said. What you've said of
Yeah.
like it sounds
Yeah.
like soccer talk. It sounds like that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what he meant. And also like European soccer talk. Come on, Jake McMillan doesn't watch the Premier League every week. I don't think he's
No,
taking tips of Jose
I,
Mourinho.
I see him as more of a Tranmere fan. Anyway, but I
Bit of
think
Millwall
with
off him, to be fair. But anyways,
do you know what? Wouldn't be surprised. Anyway, um,
great
you
week
know,
for Celtic, wasn't
I was
it?
gonna say like Tim Cahill did play for Millwall, but he's Australian, so it doesn't count. Anyway,
No, it doesn't
so
count.
but I do feel like with Connacht and their leaving list, it was quite extent. I feel like Connacht had a lot of emotion driving into this game as well, and
You
when
could
you
feel it.
combine
You could feel it when you were
I
there,
could
100%.
yeah, and like with the new stadium as well. with the likes of Jack Carty going, you have Matthew Devine going, you have Joe Joyce. Like they had loads of these players that like not so much Devine, probably more this season than last season, playing pivotal roles in their Connacht career. I felt like there was a lot more emotion. There was a lot more playing for, well, the likes of Stuart Lancaster's got them into a well-oiled machine. This was sort of like, as we said at the very start of the season, was that Stuart Lancaster this season is going to be very hit or miss. At the start of the season, he struggled, but
Mhm.
however, we've seen Connacht blossom. And it's sort of the opposite to what Munster have had this season. At the very start, they did really well, thrashed Leinster. Then they had like this sort of middle break where, much like right now, they're in a very poor form, and that was due to injuries. But when I look at this Munster team, and when I saw the Munster team playing as well, that backline wasn't bad. The only player that you'd be missing was Jack Crowley. Do you know what I mean? That forward,
Tom Farrell was out
oh,
as
Tom
well,
Farrell, yeah.
And Shane Daly and Calvin Nash.
But it's still, you still had the likes of Nankivell, you had Dan Kelly, you had Takir Abrahams. You still had good players there as well as Craig Casey. But I do feel like the likes of Munster really struggling in that situation. It was one of those that really shocked me because I did put down Munster to win this purely on the fact that it would have made Ulster safe. We see how that went. Cheers, guys. That's why Ben isn't on the podcast today. I poured water over the AI computer. Um,
Really?
but
Water destroys AI. That's funny.
but it's really good to see Connacht as well. On the other hand, it's really good to see Connacht performing well, and it's quite good to see as well that Stuart Lancaster's improving Connacht with the likes of, as you mentioned at the start, Sam Elo performing really well week in, week out, Billy Bowen as well. But then you look at you look at who's going and you look at who's replacing them. Connacht look like a dangerous, dangerous vehicle
Yeah.
next year. They really do. They look like a serious team. They're a serious team right now, given their form. Yes, granted, but they are going to be a serious team next year.
Yeah. The one concern I'd have, and we'll get on to the playoff push in just a second, is I don't know if Connacht are replacing power with power. They're losing Dowling, they're losing Joe Joyce, they're losing Ainger, they're losing Peter Dooley. There's a lot of heft leaving the building. I'm not sure if there's a lot of heft coming into the building. And
The,
ultimately, power is currency in this game. Like we trade in beef essentially. It's like the Mercosur deal. But it's David got that one. Yes, that worked. But that's
The
my only concern.
politics are dragging me back now.
Sure, that's it. But I do think they've signed well. I do think they look now. Look, Will Connors is injured. Kieran Frawley hasn't got a lot of minutes at 10, but I think on paper they're all very good signings. So it should be interesting to see how it plays out. But I suppose, David, to stay on the kind of Connacht love in, we were famously told in the comment section we never discussed Connacht. But even though we discussed it like third that week. But to keep on that love in, they're in a playoff push. They are 80 minutes away from playoff rugby. They're 80 minutes away from Champions Cup rugby. And I don't know if any of us had Connacht in the top eight at the start of the season. Like it's a mammoth run that they've gone on to do this.
Yeah, it is. Like it's incredible. Like even just quoting the fact that they're what's it, seven from their last eight in the league. Like
Yeah.
that's unreal. It's such a fantastic run. Now the counterbalance to that is obviously when you say we wouldn't have had them there at the start of the league. The fact that they've gone seven from eight games, and that's of like 18 total league games, and they're still not guaranteed top. They're currently not in the top eight. Having won those games, like it was a really rough start to the season, and there would have been concerns because Stuart Lancaster had come in and he was such a sought after signing. Like it was, I think there was a lot of people who were both happy for Connacht and maybe slightly jealous that they'd managed to pull that one off. And it can take time. It obviously takes time. For a new head coach to bed in what he's trying to do, and the kind of rugby that Stuart Lancaster would have them playing that he used to have Leinster playing. It is very involved. It is kind of high tempo rugby, but it's the kind of rugby that once Connacht got into the habit of playing, it was always going to suit them. Despite being lads who live in the middle of a hurricane on the west coast, they do like to throw the ball around, and he now has them doing it and doing it well. And just looking back over that game, like it's just so nice to see Connacht being able to take their chances when they come to them. Like it's been a problem for them in the past that they can get into positions to win games and then find ways to lose them. And it's been a real testament this last run that they've kind of flipped that around. Um,
And over by half time at that.
yeah, and like it's stunning, really. And their defense, like that was a huge frailty for Connacht was that they could score tries, but they were a bit of a glass cannon. They could score, but they'd let them in as well. To keep Munster, even a Munster that aren't at their best, to a single score in the whole game, and it took till the 67th minute for Munster to get that score. Like that's incredible. So yeah, no, it's an incredibly strong finish for Connacht for the season. You would like to see them go into the knockouts. You know, they will be away the whole time. That's always a tough run. But God, I think like as a team that might end up drawing them, you wouldn't be looking forward to that game. They're a serious outfit who have gotten so far off of seemingly so little from the start of the season that it's now kind of like, well, who's gonna stop them? Somebody somebody has to try. And I think this game of the weekend, for me anyway, this game of the weekend is a test because it is a game that on paper and on form, Connacht should win. They should win it and they should win it with a try bonus point. Edinburgh are not up for it. They have the single motivating factor of it being their last game and it being their last home game of the season, and that's always a nice finish. That was my excuse for Benetton beating Leinster. It is nice to finish on a high at home, even if you have nothing else to play for. This is essentially your final. But Connacht are still a better team, and they actually have something to play for. This match really does matter to them, and it would be so frustrating to have done all that they've done in the last run of games and then fall just short at the end of it. That would be incredibly frustrating. So Connacht absolutely have the motivation. Um, they have the team, they have the vibes are all there for them. And as someone who has watched Connacht, because I always kind of like sidelined, they were my second favorite team to watch. They have a habit of going into games like this and losing. It's happened before. It happens like frustratingly often. And like friends of mine who would be actual comic supporters who are from the West would say this is just the way it goes. Like this is what happens. We go into games that we should win and then we find a way to lose them. Almost to the point that they're disappointed but not surprised. I think this game for me, for that reason, is a test because it's a game they absolutely should win. So now the onus is on them now. Sorry, look off. The onus is on them now to go and win it. And there'll be other results that'll decide exactly where they finish. As you said yourself, they still could theoretically finish outside the top eight, but their goal is to win. And I think it is on them now to finish the season justifying this run. Um, and to all the players who are going to leave, because truly, like Jack Carty, whatever about how his career with Ireland went, has been such an incredible servant for that team. And he almost left a few years ago, and then he stuck around. And yeah, no, I think they have a chance to finish on such a high that it would be such a shame if they don't. So I'll be pulling for them this weekend. But for me, I think it's not to be understated that Edinburgh is a test, and it is a test they need to pass.
Yeah, absolutely. And it tees up this weekend nicely. And if we do have time at the very end, we might run through like the games of consequence and see how we see it unfolding, courtesy of Rugby Kino of the Mother Rucker podcast and his permutations calculator. But for me, I just look at this one and I do agree it's a cup final. But and as much as you could look at it as like, well, last week was a cup final because they had to win or their season was done a week early. So too was the Montpellier game because they beat Montpellier. They had one foot in a Champions Cup, or sorry, Challenge Cup final. Do you know? So it's like, which side of the coin, which side of the ledger are you going to fall on? Edinburgh have nothing to play for, but Edinburgh are good at home. Do you know? That's the other side. But I'll pull it up here while I'm kind of ranting and raving. Edinburgh are good
Yeah,
at home. Then at the same time, Connacht may not. Well, Connacht need a result because they are in ninth, so they need a result of some capacity. But it's a tricky one because then if what if Cardiff lose? What if Ulster lose? What if Munster lose? There's all these, different permutations at stake. Edinburgh 5 from home, 5 from 8 at home this season. They've only lost to Ulster, well beaten by, but that was in the middle of the Champions Cup or middle of the Six Nations. They lost the Bulls by 2 points. They lost to Glasgow. I don't even know if that was in the. I don't think that was in the Hive. I think that was in Hampden or Murrayfield or something like that. So they're pretty good in the Hive. But then the other side, you've got Munster, who could go into this last game with Jack Crowley, and then you'd make them favourites. They could go in without Jack Crowley, and I don't think you make them favourites then. They could go in, their job could be done by the time they kick off. They may be in ninth by the time they kick off and having to go and get a result. So like everything is it's easily the toughest game of the weekend to call, Munster Lions, because you just don't know what factors are going to be at play. Jack Woodward, who said earlier today that Thomond Park is a tough place to go to. Don't think they've shown that. Don't think they've shown that in quite some time, to be quite honest. Bar beat Saracens last year, and geez, I think that's nearly it. Odds, do you know what I mean? Like that's probably the only real scalp they've had at home in a while. So we'll wait and see. We'll do those predictions a little bit later on. Now is a good time to say that for Champions Cup season and Challenge Cup final season, let the go begin line and specifically the Intro Show be your home for that week. We will have panel shows teasing our new our provincial podcast, so some new guests and a dose of your favorite quartet or as many as we can assemble, depending on results and availability. So please do get sharing. Please do come and join us. But before all that, there's two games at Belfast that had to take place. One of them is done, and Ulster and the Stormers played out a pulsating 38-all draw in the Affidea. Adam, number one, it was a bit Premiershipy. It was a bit Premiershipy now, Adam. You know, Hugh would say this to you if you were on the show on Sunday night, so I have to say it to you. But at the same time, is this potentially a chance gone for Ulster? Because this was probably the more winnable game.
Um,
Or actually, do you know what? Before I say it, Glasgow have not won in Belfast since 2013. But I should caveat with that. So there's that side of it too.
yeah. And also Glasgow are on like a slippy path at the minute as well. Um, it's for Ulster, I think our race to the eight is looking quite like sort of limping towards the eight. I still think we're going to make the eight. I don't think it's necessarily a chance. Well, of course, it's a chance missed. However, with the circumstances that be on that chance missing, I feel like we cannot really blame ourselves in that sense. Scoring six tries against the Stormers is incredible. Having a Cod hat-trick is incredible. We played some really, really nice rugby as well. Against the Stormers. I don't think we really let ourselves down in the sense that, well, I think we let ourselves down in the first 8 minutes, to be fair, when our captain got red carded for croc curling, because croc curling is never good. And I feel like it's almost like a little, and it's so weird to say this because Ian Henderson, he used to do it when at the start of his career, and I feel like that's what was always sort of pointed at with Ian Henderson, is that Ian Henderson was always conceding a lot of penalties, especially when he was younger. But nowadays he's much more of a rounded, like he was a great player back then, but I feel like he's much more of a rounded player, got much more of a sensible head on him. However, that Crockrell did seem a little bit lazy as well. It that didn't really help us either. But saying that though, scoring six tries, we played a really nice game of rugby. Nathan Doak didn't get two conversions, which would have actually won us the game, ironically enough. However, we can't rue on those mistakes either because I thought Nathan Doak had a very good game anyway. Um, the penalty try at the end,
Go
I
on.
well, there's two priority moments if I want to get onto ref chat. There was a moment where Priority said to Sasha Feinberg and Hansulu that the clock has ran out for the kick, and he still let them kick.
Did he
Then
kick it?
he kicked it, and it went over. There was also a moment as well, of course, which was high tackle gate. I personally think that both players were going down, and the Stormers player who was going down hit his arm and hit his head as well. It was more of a rugby incident than anything. It was one of those things that I thought that for me, rugby incidents need to keep to rugby incidents, and that was a rugby incident. Like I felt like that was one of those freak things that just happened, and it just happened to be a penalty try against us in the last minute. And I do feel sorry for Nathan Joe because I did think he played a really good game, to be fair. But is that our chances squabbled? No, because I do feel like Ulster can pick themselves back up again and play against Glasgow and put a really good game against them anyway. Um, it's one of those. It's deeply frustrating. To like, well, as we all know, I was at a concert to like look back on as well, but to keep up with the updates because it was just like, oh shit, we're in the lead, and it's against
But
the
it
Stormers.
was it was worse live, I can tell you that, because it looked like Nathan Joke had held him up, and then it went
Yeah,
back, and then it got reviewed, and I think that was the that was the deflating part because it was like, oh no.
yeah.
But like for me, I'm not big on rugby instant as a term, right? Because it's used by like, your middle-aged, posh, played in the 2000s type guys.
I'm sorry, guys.
No, not
I'm
you.
sorry.
Although the Lions jersey doesn't help. But for me, I do see what you mean. Player is dipping,
Mhm.
it's a passive hit from Doak. I think you could argue it's a penalty. I'm not sure you can argue penalty try because I don't think Doak making contact with
No,
head on head helps
no,
him hold the player up.
no, no.
Do you know?
There's nothing in the way of actually affecting the try in
Yeah.
that state of play. The only reason why it was given a penalty try was because it was across the line.
Yeah,
And that's
that's
something
the
that we
thing.
need to also talk about as well, because I feel like that was almost like Piardri uses it as a way of almost like VAR, and that he doesn't actually ask the TMO, he just wants to look at a couple of replays on the screen and then make it about himself. It was deeply frustrating. Like, as I said, I don't think this is our URC season over. I think Glasgow are going to come over. I feel like a bunch of, I feel like if we were to go on about results around us, I do feel like Cardiff are falling off a bit of a cliff. This is me getting my URC talk because I wasn't on the podcast on Sunday. I was busy working on my lesson plans, so I'm talking about it a little bit now. I do feel like Cardiff are on a slippery path. I don't think they're gonna win their next game, and I do feel like I feel like, and it's my hot take, Connacht, Munster, and Ulster will be in the top eight by the end of next week, and I feel like
That's
that's gonna
that's the
happen.
hope.
I feel like Cardiff are on a slippery track. And I do feel like they're going to be the ones to miss out eventually on this race to the eight. And it's sad to say because they were second in the league. However, I just don't see it happening. I see Ulster winning. Like, even if we lose, we can still get a bonus point to leapfrog Cardiff. Saying that it's Ravenhill. Apparently, we're saying a lot goodbye to a lot of our the players that are leaving. We still don't know who is leaving. We don't know if Cock is leaving officially. We don't know, which is looking more than likely that he is. However, we don't know. I just find it interesting because we're going to find out probably tomorrow who's leaving and who we're saying goodbye to. And what we know about the URC and rugby in general, it's the same as football, it's the same as any sport. When you have players leaving, high emotion, high adrenaline, whatever team you will put out, they will try and beat that other team. It's how it works. It's sport. It's fairy tales. Son had it with the Europa League last year in Spurs. You had Johnny Sexton with the Amlin Challenge Cup when he went off to Racing. Same as Isa Nuthela. It was one of those that you have to point out, like these are emotionally charged games, and I do feel like we could beat Glasgow. However, I feel like the results around us will help us to qualify more than anything. I'd
Yeah,
said that
I
about Munster last week, but
I can see all that coming into fruition, to be quite honest. And like the one thing I keep coming back to, well, actually on the Nathan Doak thing for a minute, I fundamentally disagree with. He's a bad defender. Put him on the
no,
wing. Connacht used to do it. Ulster used to do it. Leinster do it. It does not work because all you're doing is giving a guy who knows how to score an opportunity to score.
yeah,
That's all you're doing. It does not work. Doak had another missed tackle before one of the Stormers tries as well, where he gets a hand on him, but he's just out muscled. This one he does very well, but anyways, that's a different match. But I suppose David, like this ends the season. Like as I said at the start of the show, there's only 80 minutes of rugby left. It's all about fine margins. Every little bit of it, like the Henderson moment, the Cock hat trick, the you know kicks, the everything, these major moments, it's fine margins, and you just get the sense that someone is going to rue something. And for Ulster, it could be this game. And I'm not trying to spread that, but it is like this felt like the chance. Like it really, like watching it live, watching them pull themselves into the lead, it felt like the moment. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I did. It was like it was a stunning game, value for money, like above and beyond. It's a testament to how hard it is to sell tickets in May and June that the stadium wasn't filled because it's Friday night. It was kicking rugby between, you know, the hometown boys and the top of the table. Like it was, or no, it's Stormers are second. Look, it was, and they were worth it. Like it was really really enjoyable rugby, and I watched it live. Like I think Ian Henderson will be very frustrated, and should be very frustrated. Like these things happen, but like certainly compared to the Dermot Barron one, I think I said it to you there. Like
Yeah.
I have a bit more sympathy for Barron. I think that was more of a pulling motion than a rolling motion, and he didn't necessarily know the orientation of the leg behind him. It was fair but more unfortunate than malicious. Henderson's was just silly. It shouldn't have happened, and someone as longitude as him should know better than that. Um, the rest of the game, like Ulster have like their season kind of threatened to derail itself. And I think they're now facing up against something that Leinster face up to a lot of the year, which is fighting on two fronts is hard. Like it is difficult, and credit to them, they now put themselves in a position where they can finish top eight and they're in the final of Europe. So they have thus far done it successfully. If they can finish it out from here, um, I think the margins. You don't notice the margins until they matter. Like that's the thing
True.
that any decision will haunt you in the moment. I think I was saying this to someone during the week because lamenting refereeing choices for various games. Like I don't feel like I can honestly get too upset about a refereeing decision when you can harken back to Leinster's game against the Dragons when there was a decision made on the line not to penalise and not to card Leinster that would have shifted that game. And where would their season be now if that had happened? Like these things happen. I think the vagaries of referees making mistakes or just making decisions that you disagree with is a facet of the game. For Nathan Doak, I think in that situation, he did the right thing. He just did it slightly wrong. Like he misjudged it very slightly, and it cost him. But he had to go high there. If he went low, the try gets scored. He had to try and stop it. Um, the only upside if the try had been scored, naturally, is that um, they would have had to go for the conversion. But he tried his best. I think the frustrating thing about it, as has been said, is that if he does that in the middle of the pitch, it's probably not even a penalty. It's probably not even called. But unfortunately, it happened where it's happened, so it's going to be examined. There's no way around that. And once there's foul play involved and it's that close, it's going to be, well, if he wasn't there, which I think is the standard, then try probably gets scored. So it's unfortunate as much as anything else. The balance to that is it was such a rip-roaring game that you can't help but feel both teams deserved their fair share of the balance. From a Stormers perspective, you're like, yeah, the difference between 2 and 3 points isn't much. Whereas for months, Ulster, the difference between 3 and 5 points is a good deal more. So there's a lot of frustration, um, a lot of frustration in that. But yeah, no, it's. I think I said it to you at the time this game, the way it was working, like Ulster to go ahead at the end, I was very happy to see it. But once I saw the Stormers were back on attack in Munster's 20 or Ulster's 22, I was like, they're gonna score. It was that kind of game. These two were firing shots at each other and they weren't missing. And it was really just a case of who shot last. And unfortunately for Ulster they made that catastrophic mistake of firing their shot just a little bit too early and giving the Stormers a chance to hit back. And credit to them, they did. It's probably a fairly fair result, even if
Mm.
it's probably massively frustrating for everybody involved.
Yeah, and it does bring a certain team back into the equation for top two. We'll get onto that in just a minute. But Adam, Glasgow this weekend, I'm conscious we'll get onto it at the very end. Do you think Ulster rotate this weekend? Because they're already going to be without Henderson, possibly Herring, McCluskey, Stockdale for the final.
Um,
Can they
On
afford
one
to?
hand, I we're now, as David said, we're now in a position where we haven't been for in years. Well, probably since yeah, since 2012, where we're fighting on two fronts. Even then, I don't think our league season went that great. The year that we did get to the final in 2012, bearing in mind I was 10, so I'm not gonna try and remember all the way through back there. However, do we rotate? I'd say we would rotate, but with one eye on the league. I feel like Richie Murphy and the coaching setup are like, we're gonna take players, we're gonna take every game as it comes, which is the right thing to do. Take every game as it comes, and we're gonna pick the best team for it. However, if we lose like a Jack Murphy, if we lose a Nathan Doak, then we're gonna be looking at a completely different story in Spain next week. So I'd say almost like putting those big name players on the bench and giving them a cameo in the last 20 minutes and hopefully seeing that as putting them in bubble wrap is a very good thing. Like putting your Cormac Achukwu, your Jack Murphys, and your Nathan Dokes on the bench so that they can come on if things go horrifically wrong. I don't think we're going to have as big as like when you look at the Munster rotation. We're not going to do that, I don't think. But, we do have this final, and I think it's going to be playing on everyone's mind in that stadium as well. And every single hit will be met with a or a get up or a please don't red card you, those type of things. So yeah, I'd say we would like half in, half out. That's what I'm gonna say. We're gonna have big name players on the bench, but we're still gonna have some big name players, our first team players on the pitch as well.
Yeah, we shall see on that one. But I did tease it, so we'll move on to Dublin now. A game that don't know if David was there actually, but I certainly covered it. Uh, where a three tries in the final quarter, wasn't it, Dave? I think it was. Saw them book a playoff spot and move within a whisker of top two. There's plenty of cats in this podcast, so I had to get that in eventually. But David, plain and simple, try bonus point. Top two is within reach, exactly where Leinster need to be heading into the final round.
Yeah. It was a nice finish. The game felt, it's a one where I feel like I should give credit to the Lions throughout the start of the game. Like they took their chances. I felt like we were giving them a fair amount of them. It definitely felt like the game swung on the Leinster decision to stack the bench. Um, and that kind of helped us seal out the game. It's a question of like just to reference back to what we said about moments and about sliding doors things. I was like, if we hadn't screwed the pooch against Benetton, we'd be top two already. Like this is just one of those things where you're like, there's always a moment. You can always go back to a moment and go, that one. If I'd done that one just a little bit different, things would be a little bit different now. But we got our bonus point in the end, which was a strong finish, and I think the strong finish kind of belies how much of that game we spent with the one score lead. And the thing with the Lions is they don't win a lot outside of South Africa. They just don't travel as well. But I think they've actually only won in Ireland once.
Yeah,
But
in Galway once. Now, to be fair, they've played in a couple of monsoons in Ireland as well, which would
yeah,
really suit them.
But one thing and this was a lovely day. It was clear, it was dry. Like the one thing that the Lions have is they're fast. They love scoring. If they can get a glimpse of an outside channel or get in behind you just a little bit, they can cut you open. And when you only have a one score lead, you're like, this is a game we really went in going, we need the 5 points. I'm going, we need to win first. So yeah, it was touch and go for like longer than I would have liked. But once we brought on the bench, Porter and Sheehan. And Hugo Keenan, which is only the fourth for anybody who likes pub facts, is only the fourth time in 82 caps Hugo Keenan has ever featured off the bench for Leinster. He's never benched for a test level. And that just really changed the shape of the game. It was a really great starting performance from Jimmy O'Brien. I think that left wing position for the next week, but more so for the final, will be a really interesting one. I think it's probably slightly too late for James Lowe to come back in, even if he's fit. So it'll come down to Jimmy O'Brien or Ricky Ioane, and credit to Ioane. He has played like the vast majority of his career at outside center, but he's a much better winger. Like he's much better on the wing. He's fast. There's some frailties to his game and to his focus levels that just don't suit outside center, even though that is where he's played most of his career. But I think he's actually he's been effective for us anyway on that wing. But Jimmy O'Brien's just been it was just so good. Like he played really well. His own runs, his little chips around the side, his offloading, like he was really fantastic. So it'll be a shootout for that one. And obviously Keane came on and gave us solidity in the back line. And Kieran Frawley, like talking about sliding doors, credit to him, man. He gets shifted into 10, a position he's been looking for years and has been routinely denied. And he looked great. He looked very comfortable. He doesn't have any real defensive frailties in that position. But even going forward, he controlled the attack pretty well. His link play was good. It flowed pretty well with him there, and we were able to seal it out and get the max points at the end. And I think it's going to be very interesting coming out of that going into next week because traditionally Leinster, at this stage already, traditionally Leinster would have wrapped everyone in cotton wool. Obviously, we haven't quite done that yet because we haven't got our URC season locked down. Um, but also, there's an element of we're not 100% sure who starts everywhere as it stands. So I think there are still decisions to be made even in the starting 15, which 2 weeks out from a Champions Cup final has just never been the case. Who's going to play at 11? To a degree, who's going to play at 12? Jamie Osborne, I think a few weeks ago, coming out of Ireland camp, would have been nailed down, but he's had his ups and his downs there in the last few weeks. So it remains to be seen if he gets selected there. Robbie Henshaw obviously has gone through return to play protocols, so that'll play a factor. Andrew Porter obviously back in at loose head. There's murmurings that Paddy McCarthy might almost return, but Jerry Kerr has deputised so well he might just remain the trusted man there. And then the bench really kind of wide open. That number 20 shirt could really belong to any one of almost four or five players. And that's not even to get into the 6-2, 5-3 split. So if for regular season rugby, 2 weeks out from a Champions Cup final and 3 weeks out from URC playoffs, there's still so much going on and so much more than there usually is at this time of year for Leinster. And it's entertaining, even if it's not good for your blood pressure.
Yeah, no, it's funny because I was going to bring up Rico. I thought he played very, very well. I think if memory serves, I had him, or at least some of us had him as being the starting winger for Leinster at the end of the season if everyone is fit. I think a couple of us, I said that's certainly where I was falling down. I think Tommy O'Brien's become irreplaceable, but I do think Ioane was always going to be in a shout for the uh for the wing. I suppose Leinster can't put any more NIQs on the bench anymore. That's for
I
sure.
will just say just before and I don't want to cut across the channel, but I actually have an in not in, but like I'm actually an Auckland Blues supporter. So I've been watching Ioane for almost his entire career. And he started out on the wing, and I remember the
Mhm.
shift to centre, and it didn't make sense at the time because he has this obviously dipped a little bit, but he's still only in his mid to late 20s. He's really fast, like he is actually genuinely quite fast. And there's
He's
aspects of
he's not he's not Irish fast.
He's not Irish fast. He's like actually fast. We've got distance runners. That's more of our thing. But he's actually very fast, and he very much suits it. And I know we put him at 13 because that's where he had been playing for the Blues and for the All Blacks. But I think you're right. I think 11 is where, particularly in this team, given that we have Gary and Rose and Henshaw and Osborne at 12, the wing is where he can do a serious amount of damage for us.
Yeah, and I think he will. And I thought he'd be impressed out, and when he moved back out and took his tries well, it was involved in the Keenan score. I thought he was really really good. The one thing I will say, Adam, because I am conscious of time, um, the Lions, and I phrased this, they hit the bruise. They knew what would annoy Leinster. They were super physical. They very much targeted Sam Prendergast in defence. That there's no getting around it. Like they absolutely did, and they played with an aggression and a physicality. They kicked well, especially for the first 60 minutes. I thought when Van der Berg went off, that certainly was a big loss. But there's probably something in that now where Park Bordeaux for a minute, different kettle of fish. If you get Leinster in the URC quarterfinal the week after the European final, there's a blueprint there as to how to get at Leinster. Sam Prendergast is one of those pieces. I think back three can be one of those pieces. I think tight five can be one of those. Teams are starting to map it out a little bit better now.
Yeah. I think I honestly think that Lions have became um one of my favorite teams to watch in terms of like you never know what you're gonna get with a Lions team. I think they're very good at like their like setup and planning in general, and I feel like that comes through from the coaching from the Lions in general because we always would think about the Lions as being the weaker of the four South African teams. However, they've almost had this monumental rise, and as you said, they hit the bruise. They know what they were doing. They were a very educated team. They don't have like I would argue and it's probably I probably if the comments are to be annoyed at me and saying, but they don't have like a standout player. They just work very well as a team unit. I think that they've got one of those teams where you don't have that big name player that they would always pass to. They just work very well as a unit, and I think that's what URC needs is a very much if to put it in like a football term, a very much like a Crystal Palace type of team or a Brentford type of team where they don't have a star player, but they play very well anyway. But I think the Lions are that, and they're they used to be the Golden State now the Fidelity Secure Drive. They're ironically secure enough in their playoff position. Um, you also mentioned as well that they could beat Munster next week. That would be a massive, 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 it's what like thing to take from the Lions as well. And as you said, if Leinster at the end, Leinster a week after a final, they could be really happy or they could be really quite pissed off, but they could be limping either way. You would back yourself if the Lions are that smart of a team and they're that well versed and they're also that like as you can tell as well we were I saw in the group chat they mentioned that they didn't have necessarily a bad game either. It's interesting and they do play really exciting rugby and it is really exciting to see and it's almost like it's like they're showing their Super Rugby form the time that they got to was it a Super Rugby final in like 2015 or something like that.
Mm.
You can see why because
Patrick Clark was at nine back in those
it's
days.
it was mental, but like you're seeing that exciting attacking Lions Super Rugby team in the URC. It's almost like we like picked them up and just pumped them in, and it's like, oh yeah, they can play really, really decent rugby.
Yeah, absolutely. I just have it here because I'm just going to scroll down. They had, oh, they didn't have, oh, Faf was on the bench. They had Elton Yantes at 10, Quadra Smith, Franco Mostert, Malcolm Marks before he was Malcolm Marks. They had players. Anyways, to Belfast, back again, back up north we go. Ireland steamrolling Wales in the penultimate round of the Women's Six Nations ahead of their biggest ever home game to come this weekend. I didn't catch all this. I watched it back today and just you have to start with Aoife Wafer. Like it gets boring when we start talking about the same players over and over again, but she's just there's no superlatives. Like her offloads to the David Parsons try, her carrying in open field. I think her defensive work is unheralded, to be quite honest. I think she's a big hitter in defense, probably one of the only ones that Ireland has. I thought she was excellent. She's not the only one. Brittany Hogan played well. Erin King, arguably her best performance of the she was very good in Claremont, in fairness. But one of her best performances of the championship so far. And Ireland are just like, said it before, on a different podcast. Ireland's ability to bounce back after poor results is something to be really, really admired. You know, last year Six Nations at times, in WXV when they had that loss to Canada and then followed up by beating the USA. Even last year at the World Cup, hammered by New Zealand, should have beaten France a week later. And they just keep doing this. Every time they have a disappointing result, they bounce back. They really, like their bounce back ability is super, super strong. A term I think Ian Holloway first coined. And they really impressed me. Aoife Wafer was front and centre of that player of the match. But Ireland are in a very good spot. Now, there is concerns. They have only capped 27 players. They've had four new caps. Probably could have been more. The likes of Enya Breen hasn't featured. Avian Riley hasn't featured. Katie Whelan has, but hasn't got a lot of minutes. Same can be said for Clive McGrath, who's probably someone we should be pumping minutes into. Same with Eilish Cahill. But in the main, you'd be very, very happy in the direction which they're going in. And I suppose, like the kind of the importance now. Top three is there for them. Three wins, three home wins, possibly three home bonus point wins. Like these are all right there for them if Ireland can take them. And I suppose Adam, to bring you back in, it's a Viva time. It's a big one on Sunday. It's huge. It's one of the biggest days in Irish women's sport, full stop.
Yeah, it is. It's incredible to see as well because, like, as I keep on mentioning, with this women's team, it's like their social media presence is great, and I feel like there's like it's like one of those is that they're performing on the pitch as well, and the 22,000 is a testament to what they can do. That's the benchmark next year. How about it higher? We saw it at the start of the Women's Six Nations as well with the Twickenham the game at Twickenham. We saw it at Murrayfield as well. I'm not sure if Wales have played at the Principality this year or
They have,
not.
yeah,
They
round one.
have, but it's one of those that like the sport in general is growing and growing and growing, and it's a testament. It's a testament to how much effort and how well that this Ireland team is playing. To be fair, as you said, they've got many setbacks in the Six Nations, but they're pulling up to it as well. Aoife Wafer's superstar, so is Parsons. We're having those big names in the squad becoming household names as well. It is just a testament to what they're doing, and they're changing the game as well. Also raising the bar and raising the standards for the ones that they're setting for them next year as well. And the 22,000, and I feel like there's going to be more. Are they selling tickets at the door as well? I'm not exactly sure. I feel like there'll be a lot of foot traffic as well at that game as well. If you're in and around Dublin as well, I'd recommend to go to it if there are selling tickets at the door because it's high quality level rugby. And also it'll be a really lovely day out as well to watch it, high quality level of rugby. And also there's going to be an amazing atmosphere at it as well.
Yeah, no, the weather isn't promised 100%, but sure,
Yeah.
it is what it is. But David, this is a chance to solidify what this campaign means. It means progress. It means progress on the field. It means progress off the field. It means getting new fans in the door. It means breaking records. It means growing on the World Cup. And it feels like a very, very real target that we're going to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like as Adam said it, like it's the twinning of the off-field presence and the on-field performances. Like you can't, one without the other is always going to be markedly less effective. And this the tournament hasn't gone exactly how we would have wanted. I think there'll be regrets about the French game not going more our way. But three home wins in a Six Nations is no bad shake. It's no bad result to come away with. I think in the fullness of time, the performance against England will be viewed in a very positive light because I thought it was a very positive start. It's and absent the less than stellar performance against France and some of the regrets we'll have had on that. It's been a really good performance since then, and yeah, I think we would have liked to see a bit more rotation. It's kind of a thing Scott Beeman had been kind of really good at in the lead up to this is that he did make frequent and broad changes to his teams. Clearly he just wanted to, I would imagine, put in as solid a run of performances as he could and maybe figure out who his genuine first 15 are. But I think all the players who've come in and obviously for Wafer is steals to show a lot. But there's been so much happening around that as well. It is such a much more complete team. This isn't a team that just relies on a single marquee player. We have such talent across the board, and there's so many players. Um, in each of the units to get really excited about. I'm I'm obviously going to the match the weekend. I hope we can push the ticket numbers even higher, but even just to have it you know be the record, that's something we can build on for next year, and it's something we will continue to build on. And I think the taking the team on the road, going to Galway, going to Belfast, it's been such a massive success. You would hope it continues because it's just a real way to show that this is a team from the whole country for the whole country, and yeah, it's been such an unbelievably positive tournament. I'm really looking forward to the match this weekend because I just can't see this team doing anything but putting an incredible cap on it and finishing really, really strongly.
Yeah, it promises to be really exciting. I'll be there as well. Hopefully, get a bit of post game or pre game or something coverage, you can find me on Instagram, Kate on Scully Media, and hopefully get something going. Lads, before we go, we have to do predictions. Should be said, give him his dues. David is still leading the predictions competition, as I think he has done basically all season. And he will remind us. While Adam and Ben are a good bit behind me, I'm in second place. Adam,
Way to
firstly to you.
piss all over my happiness.
I'm going to continue. Adam, who's going to win between Ulster and Glasgow?
Ulster.
Okay, interesting. Edinburgh Connacht, I'm going to go with Connacht. David, Leinster Ospreys?
Leinster.
Okay. Munster Lions, no Ben. I'm leaning Lions, guys. Yourselves?
Wearing a Lions kit, I must have to say Lions.
Different Lions. Different.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Dave?
In a weird way, I don't think Munster have two back-to-back awful performances in them. I think in Thomond Park, with their backs against the wall, kind of the thing that gets them out of the bed in the morning. So I think there'll be just enough in them to beat a team who, once again, as good as they can look on their day, don't really win that much outside of South Africa. So yeah, I'm going to back Munster.
Yeah.
So you're going Munster. So if we
I should have picked Munster. Oh no.
Do you know what? I'm going to put in Ulster here. I'm going to use the permutations calculator. We're going to go Ulster. So if Stormers to beat Cardiff, we go with that?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah.
So
Yeah.
Connacht to win,
Well,
Ulster,
unfortunately.
a couple of games don't really matter. Leinster to win and Munster. So we have a quarterfinal prediction. Clip this, guys. Stormers against Connacht, Leinster against the Lions, Glasgow against Ulster, and the Bulls against Munster. That'll be tasty enough now. Although, apart from the fact that all those teams have played in the last 4 rounds of the season.
Connacht have already beaten the Stormers in Cape Town.
Connacht have beaten the Stormers in Cape Town. The Lions have ran Leinster close.
Munster have beaten
in
Bulls
this scenario.
in Pretoria.
Munster beaten the Bulls Pretoria. In this scenario, Ulster will know how to beat Glasgow.
Well, the thing is, I like the ERC is so tasty, but however, I must preface it in saying it would be very exciting to have all 4 provinces in the Champions Cup.
It would. It absolutely, and it would be better for the game. It's better for attendances. It's better for everything else.
Yeah, it's for what it's worth, and I know this is like our overall predictions, and we'll get you'll get our personal predictions later. I really hate to do this to you, Adam, but I think Glasgow are going to be Ulster.
Oh,
I do as well.
This is like the type of stuff like behind the curtain that everyone punches me in the metaphorical dick. It's just we all love Ulster, and then it's like afterwards it's like, fuck you, Adam.
Adam gets punched in his number 14 Werner. Let's just put it that way. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me for another chaotic podcast. Hopefully Ben will be back next week. As I said, we'll have a lot to discuss next week. We'll have Ulster in the Challenge Cup final, Leinster in the Champions Cup final. We'll have the end of the Six Nations, the Women's Six Nations. We'll have the end of the URC. We will have so much to discuss.
What a tiring week that's going to be.
What a tiring week. And that'll only be the build-up to Friday. Never mind Friday and Saturday and what they're going to be like. But it's going to be a lot of fun.
God, the nerves are going to get to me, lads.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, David. I've been your host, Kate Scully. And until next time, take it easy.
Find the biggest voices in sports on the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Like me, Sam, from the Fantasy Football Scout podcast, bringing you all things FPL. From chip strategy, captaincy decisions, top transfer picks and essential injury news, plus plenty of big name options from the likes of FPL Harry, Braz and Az. We've got you covered. Don't leave your mini leagues to chance. Search Fantasy Football Scout and listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Find the biggest voices in sports on the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Like the Terrace Scottish Football Podcast. If the 25-26 season proved anything, it's that Scottish football is more than just about 2 clubs. Here on the Terrace we cover the action, the drama and the sheer bampottery of it all throughout the campaign. From the top of the Premiership to the bottom of League 2 and further afield. And, of course, we also turn our eye to the constant rollercoaster ride that is the Scottish national team. That's the Terrace Scottish Football Podcast. Get it wherever you get your podcasts.
Sports Social Podcast Network.